The current contract that SAG-AFTRA have with the studios expires on June 30th at midnight. However, that doesn't mean that there's going to be a strike right away if they don't have a deal, and that doesn't mean there's going to be a deal right away if that deadline is passed. We have seen in the past, in 2014, 2017, the Actors Guild actually had extensions and didn't actually come up with a deal until July 4th or around that time in those particular periods. Now, going into a holiday weekend, that makes it a little difficult. We have been hearing that there could be an extension up to July 7th put in place. But again, these are very fluid situations. You could see at the last minute, someone could find that they've made a deal, they've reached the point they want to. But with so many factions involved, especially with 160,000 members in the Actors Guild in SAG-AFTRA, it's going to be very hard for leadership to not come in with a deal that really meets the stringent demands that their members are looking for. And by members, I mean that guy you see in a commercial, that friend of yours who appears in movies now and then, and Meryl Streep, and people like that, and Amy Schumer, and people like that. And that is where you are going to start seeing some serious demands of a union that is looking at the future and not liking what it's seeing back unless it sees some change in Hollywood. The Actors Union, like the Writers Guild and like the Directors Guild, are very concerned about residuals from streaming. Obviously, in the past, when negotiations have happened with the studios, it's been pretty straightforward. It's been networks and films and what have you. But since 2013, that's changed dramatically when Netflix started doing original programming. And of course, now streaming is the most predominant platform. Determining what the residuals are from those platforms has been a very sticky wicket because, to be quite bluntly, tech companies don't like to give up data. So we're not really sure what you actually get when you're on a top show. Yes, Netflix has its 1 to 10 list, but what does that actually mean? So it's to try to get some real transparency out of that and some real payment out of that. Additionally, they're also concerned about self-taping costs, which became very, very predominant during the pandemic for obvious reasons, but has continued. And this is, as the SAG-AFTRA negotiating committee referred to it, has become a burden on actors to present this material, whereas before, obviously, you went to casting calls. Additionally, we're looking at things like artificial intelligence, likeness, depiction, material. How is this all going to add up?
Fair contract! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? A fair contract! When do we want it? Now! And if we don't get it, shut it down!
You know, if you're to look at the long game of this, with the Writers Guild on strike, and then if the actors go on strike, then the Hollywood studios and the streamers are going to have to really stand up. They're kind of sitting back and going to the executives going to the Hamptons and waiting for this to all settle in September. That ain't going to happen. Already we're looking at the Emmys is probably won't going to happen at this point. But if the actors go on strike as well, there is going to have to be a serious come to Jesus moment. That might actually see a very strong deal with the solidarity, which is unprecedented at this point, the kind of union solidarity we're seeing in Hollywood. So if you have that happen, the writers and the actors might end up with a very, very good deal. And the Directors Guild, which made their deal in June, they might find themselves actually holding the short end of the stick because they might have moved too fast instead of taking it to the picket lines.
Writers Guild President Meryl Streep. Thank you to our wonderful WGA support staff for holding it down all day in the corner. Give it up.
Now, the writers this year round, the first strike in 15 years, have said, we will go back to the bargaining table anytime. The studios have said, well, we're very busy right now talking to the directors. Oh, we're very busy right now talking to the actors. There's no real reason why they can't have multi-platform negotiations in parallel. They just don't want to because, again, this strategy of if we get the Directors Guild on board, success, check that box. If we can get the actors on board, we'll leave the writers high and dry. Of course, wild card. This is a much more militant Hollywood than it's ever been before. And coincidentally, because of that, where you see not only did the Writers Guild have a strike authorization mandate of up to 97%, this Actors Union had a strike mandate of up to 98%. Now, you take that into account. You take into account some of the demands they have of streaming residuals, minimum pay, AI. just looking into those things. You take into account a letter signed by over 2,000 predominant actors, the likes of Meryl Streep, the likes of, well, to be honest, the likes of SAG-AFTRA president Fran Drescher herself, who, and I guess in a way, literally signed a letter against her own self because she's co-running the negotiations. So you have these things. People are saying, don't back down. This is a historic opportunity. You add that into the mix, into the jambalaya. If the writers are already on strike, you've seen Hollywood predominantly slow down. If the actors go on strike, Hollywood will come to a halt.